I had to watch this episode 4 times because I kept falling asleep. This show is like Galactic Lunesta, but less satisfying. So, why did I keep falling asleep? Was it because I've been playing Elden Ring? No, it's because I was bored, and this episode was nothing but filler. It's an 8-episode series, 30-minute spots, so a filler 2 episodes before the end is a bold choice. If you really have nothing for the characters to do, why not just skip the episode? That's not to say nothing happens, just nothing that needed a 30-minute show. And again, this is the third to the last episode. To put it into perspective, The Acolyte is basically a 4-hour-long movie. So imagine that in the last hour of The Batman, people just sit around talking about what they're going to be talking about in 30 minutes. Calling it filler is actually generous. This was a 30-minute trailer for episode 7. Supposedly that's when they're finally going to tell the audience the thing they needed to know 2 episodes ago. What actually happened on Planet Lebeau? It only took them 3.5 hours. Gooners don't edge this long, or whatever's a lesbian equivalent. The gist of what happens in this episode is that Soul tries to make amends with May by promising to tell her what really happened on Brendok, but not in this episode. Tagalong tries to seduce Osha to the dark side with sexual innuendo, but forgot she's probably not into dudes. And Master Heartwalls McButch continues to look like the most suspicious woman in the Jedi Order. Let's start with Heartwalls because I don't understand why anyone listens to this woman. A general rule of thumb in writing is that you never want to make your characters look stupid. This doesn't mean you can't have dumb characters. What it means is that you don't want scenes where the average person will call something out or catch that something is off and then have your characters completely miss that. If you do that, then your characters will lose their credibility. Throughout The Acolyte, Heartwalls McButch has never acted normal. She's always been suspicious, always on edge, always like she's hiding something, and she makes no effort to pretend she's not. But no one says anything. This isn't just in direct confrontation with her. Maybe her status in the Order would keep people from doing that, but they don't even do it amongst themselves. No one questions what this woman is doing, even when she looks really questionable. We get a setup, but there's no payoff. This is a recurring problem in the show. We get this scene where a Padawan comes in and tells Heartwalls that Soul's team was killed. He walks in on Heartwalls talking to someone about a move in the Senate to start an external review of the Jedi Order. This little bit is meant to show discord within the Republic about the Jedi's status and trustworthiness. The problem is that we never get to see that discord, so the Senator's move makes no logical sense, and neither does any distrust of the Jedi. Unless they were talking about Heartwalls McButch, because even in this exchange with an ally, it still feels like this woman is hiding something. And it just gets worse when she reveals to the Padawan that she sent Soul on some secret mission, and now she'll go to investigate what happened herself. Now he's suspicious, finally, but not enough to do anything. When they get to Kofar, the Padawan tells her that the locals spoke of a recent hatching of bugs that are very aggressive, and he assumes that the bugs killed a Jedi. However, when their team reaches the bodies, they clearly see this was a fight between someone with a lightsaber. The whole time, Heartwalls makes it clear that she knows exactly what happened, but won't tell that to the Padawan or the other Jedi with her. But no one questions this, not even amongst themselves. It just comes across as silly. But not as silly as her whip lightsaber, which has always been a bad concept and looks even worse in live action. Look, I'm all for fantasy weapons, but there are limits. Speaking of limits, have you ever wondered what it would look like if someone not attracted to men wrote a sexually tense scene about a man seducing someone? Well, you will find out because my God are the scenes between Osha and Tagalong some of the most sexually awkward scenes I've ever seen. First of all, the two actors have zero chemistry. They probably vibe together off screen, but on screen, it's just not working. They got away with this when Amanda played May because the characters are meant to bicker. But with Osha, Tagalong's goal is to get her to become his new apprentice, so the interaction is different. Osha's reaction to finding out she's stuck with Tagalong is pretty tame considering she just watched him murder those Jedi. When she follows him, he obviously knows she's there, so he goes to take a bath, and after he undresses, Osha picks up his saber, and he makes the obligatory sexual innuendo.
How does it feel?
Feels good, doesn't it?
To hold one in your hand again.
And that's the tone Tagalong has for their entire interaction. It doesn't sound like he's trying to convince Osha. It doesn't sound like he's trying to seduce her. It sounds like he's saying the things he's supposed to say because they were written on the page. By the way, this is the part where I dipped off. Twice. And I know why. Because the whole point is to not tell you anything about this guy. The easiest way to get Osha on his side is for him to reveal some information about himself, about his intentions, or about the Force. He doesn't really do any of that. Sure, he does claim to be a former Jedi, but given his age, Osha should have known him or heard of him. Tagalong brushes that off, saying that it was a long time ago, but he's not that much older than her, so it'd be likely that she would have heard about some Padawan or Jedi who turned. This is even more the case when we see his scar, which he claims he got from his Jedi Master. Why? Because Tagalong turned to the dark side, or is at least tapping into those powers. This is another point the show keeps trying and failing to make, which is that the Jedi try to force their ways onto everyone and won't allow any other exploration of the Force. That just isn't true, and we never get to see anything like that in the show. What we do see is Tagalong murder a bunch of Jedi because now they know about him. His actions are violent and cruel, so even if he had a point that the Jedi closing off their emotions isn't the best way, his way is much worse. Like I said in my previous videos, you have to show the Jedi doing something wrong in order to justify his position. You can't just say the Jedi are bad because reasons. You have to show it, and they never do. However, they do show cortosis, so I was mistaken. Apparently the writers did know about this metal because there's a throwaway line explaining the helmet.
Cortosis, handy against lightsabers, but also a sensory deprivation headpiece, like we used as younglings.
Except that doesn't explain how Tagalong could use the Force to affect other people's minds. In fact, he says in the bathing scene that he can't read Osha's thoughts. He could be lying, but if we take him at his word, then he shouldn't be able to use the Force on a Jedi while wearing the helmet. Then again, he claims that the helmet is like the ones that the Padawans use for their blind training, which doesn't block their Force powers, just their sight and possibly hearing. So nothing Tagalong says is consistent. At any rate, he invites Osha to put on the mask, and she does, and then does a low-rent Vader impression. I'm sure this worked better on the page, but on screen, the moment has zero weight because we don't know anything about Tagalong, we barely know anything about Osha, we don't know the importance of the helmet. Hell, it's not even clear that this guy is actually Sith. Rey offering Anakin's lightsaber to Luke carried more weight because we knew the importance of that lightsaber. This moment with Osha carries nothing. But fret not, all is not lost because while 2/3 of the show was completely forgettable, the remaining third was carried by Lee Jung-jae. He continues to be the highlight of the show and by far has the best moment in the episode and entire season. He knows that May is pretending to be Osha, but he's just going along with it. He tries contacting the Order, but the comm doesn't work, so he has May go down to fix it. Then he has this moment where he gets swamped by the emotions of what happened, and his struggle to keep himself together, to not break, to not give in is just incredible. And he doesn't say a word, it's all in his face. I'm going to try to show as much of it as I can get away with, because you have to see it. I'm going to put that a notch and a half under Ewan McGregor's scene from Kenobi, which was easily the greatest scene in Star Wars. If this scene was a show, if it was about Sol coming to terms with the Order and his feelings and what happened 16 years ago, it'd damn near be a masterpiece. Hell, make it a 2.5-hour long movie and it'd be perfection. Instead, that epic moment of impeccable acting gets dragged down by Sol finally stunning and capturing May and then promising to tell her the truth about what happened on Brendok. But not right now. No, we gotta wait another episode to get what we should have gotten 2 episodes ago. And to make it worse, that ain't even the end of the episode. The final scene is Osha putting on the mask. So you pause and then go to that bullshit and then end the episode? I'm sure they're going to get to the point. Eventually. Now the question is whether it'll be any good. After struggling through some of the blandest writing, glacial pacing, mediocre character motivations, and space lesbians finger-banging in the sky, will the payoff be worth it? Has Leslie Headland and her writers come up with something interesting? Or will they continue to never pick up the ball to actually have something to drop? We'll have to wait and see. I can say that if the next episode is like this one, babies won't sleep as well as I will. But what do I know? Well, I know that I would be pissed if I spend hours in the gym burning calories to show my abs, and then you cut off my beauty shot at the nipples.